Monday of the 17th week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the book of Exodus. Moses turned and came down the mountain with the 2 tablets of the commandments in his hands. Tablets that were written on both sides, front and back. Tablets that were made by God, having inscriptions on them that were engraved by God himself. Now when Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, "That sounds like a battle in the camp." But Moses answered, "It does not sound like cries of victory, nor does it sound like cries of defeat. The sounds that I hear are cries of revelry." As he drew near the camp, he saw the calf and the dancing. With that, Moses' wrath flared up, so that he threw the tablets down and broke them on the base of the mountain. Taking the calf they had made, he fused it in the fire, and then ground it down to powder, which he scattered on the water and made the children of Israel drink. Moses asked Aaron, "What did this people ever do to you that you should lead them into so grave a sin?" Aaron replied, "Let not my Lord be angry. You know well enough how prone the people are to evil. They said to me, 'Make us a god to be our leader.' As for the man Moses who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him. So I told them, 'Let anyone who has gold jewelry take it off.' They gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and this calf came out." On the next day Moses said to the people, "You have committed a grave sin. I will go up to the Lord then. Perhaps I may be able to make atonement for your sin." So Moses went back to the Lord and said, This people has indeed committed a grave sin in making a god of gold for themselves. If you would only forgive their sin. If you will not, then strike me out of the book that you have written." The Lord answered, "Him only who has sinned against me will I strike out of my book. Now, go and lead the people to the place I have told you. My angel will go before you. When it is time for me to punish, I will punish them for their sin." The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good." Our fathers made a calf in Horeb and adored a molten image. They exchanged their glory for the image of a grass-eating bullock. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. They forgot the God who had saved them, who had done great deeds in Egypt, wondrous deeds in the land of Ham, terrible things at the Red Sea. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. Then he spoke of exterminating them, but Moses, his chosen one, withstood him in the breach, to turn back his destructive wrath. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus proposed a parable to the crowds. "The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed in a field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, yet when full grown it is the largest of plants. It becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches." He spoke to them another parable. "The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed with 3 measures of wheat flour until the whole batch was leavened." All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He spoke to them only in parables, to fulfill what had been said through the prophet. "I will open my mouth in parables. I will announce what has lain hidden from the foundation of the world." The Gospel of the Lord.
Monday of the 17th week in Ordinary Time. The first reading comes from Exodus 32:15-24 and 30-34. Last week we heard about how the people of Israel and Moses gathered around Mount Sinai, and Moses climbed Mount Sinai and received the 10 Commandments. Now he's coming down the mountain, and they hear an uproar coming from the camp. And at first Joshua thinks it's a battle, but what it really is the revelry, the feasting, the dancing, that the people are performing before the idol which they've asked Aaron to create. They wanted this idol, this to be a god that would lead them. It's not quite clear whether they're doing this against Yahweh's leadership or Moses' leadership. Either way, it's wrong, because Moses is a representative of God, and therefore sinning against Moses is also sinning against God. The people had not seen Moses for a while, and they lost their trust. They want a continuous reassurance that God is leading them. But they have to realize that sometimes in our spiritual life, we don't feel God very close. Sometimes it's almost as if God backs off. Now, most of the time, it's really that we back away and we shut God out of our lives. But sometimes it does seem as if God backs off a bit, so that we can walk with our own feet, that we won't always be dependent upon the consolation that He offers in prayer, the feeling that He's very close, so that we might do what is right, not because it leaves us feeling good, but rather because it's the right thing, and we truly love God, even if we don't feel the return of His love at this moment. Well, the people who have sinned have to be punished because this is a holy people, and therefore they'll be purified by the angel who will go through the camp and punish those who have sinned against God. The Gospel is from Matthew 13, 31 to 35. Jesus speaks about the kingdom of heaven. Remember, He doesn't use the phrase kingdom of God in the Gospel of Matthew. We believe that the ultimate author of the Gospel of Matthew was a converted Pharisee. And Pharisees not only didn't use the name of God, they didn't even use the title of God, Elohim. So in its place, they would say the kingdom of heaven. And what is the kingdom of heaven? Where God reigns upon the earth. It's not a time or a place. It's an attitude. It's a turning of our hearts over to the Lord. Well, the kingdom of heaven appears as a mustard seed. It starts out very small, and Jesus says it's the smallest seed of all seeds. Botanically, that's not true, but we wouldn't expect the Gospels to have botanical truth. What He's saying, it starts out very small, in small actions, and it eventually grows to be a powerful thing. It's like our faith. Our faith is expressed in small things. We forgive somebody. We wash the dishes for somebody. We bring a casserole to a family who has lost a loved one as a sign of helping them out. It's the small things that begin to express our faith, and eventually it grows to a much larger extent. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast put in dough. The smallest little thing will have an enormous impact. I'm sure you've heard of the butterfly effect. One thing changes another, which changes another, which changes another. It's said that a butterfly flaps its wings in the Amazon, and a dam in the Himalayas breaks, because it's a chain of events that is a continuous chain, one affecting the other. Well, if I express my faith, it's contagious. It will somehow spread. We don't know exactly how. It's not a scientific formula. But good, like evil, is contagious. And then we hear how Jesus preached all these things in parables. He was explaining it as simply as possible so that people would fully understand. And may God bless us.